Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is part 2 of a 5-part Endpoint Insights webinar series. Few housekeeping things. Obviously, keep the Q&A just for questions and answering. It helps us keep track of what questions have been asked, which ones have been answered. And then for the chat, obviously do everything except the question and answering there. Just like our previous webinars, we will be giving away 4 $100 gift cards to people on this webinar today. So I'll be announcing the names of those winners later on. But let's start this. So we've got 2 great presenters. If it's your first time joining, Garth Jones, Marty Miller. If this is not your first webinar with Recast, both these presenters should look familiar to you. Starting off with the questions, if you could just answer this question in the text chat box, that would be great. What does Hyperspace, Express Route, and towels have in common? So whoever answers this question first will be our first webinar $100 gift card winner. No cheating though, so let's see if we have any takers.
Garth, you
here.
are not eligible to win.
Yeah, sorry, Garth.
That's not what you said earlier.
Wow, Garth, this could have been a tough question. And then we'll do the second one. If anyone can name the reference to Marty's quote, will be our second winner. Is a fruit who really knows where his towel is. I said that as a question, but it's more of a statement.
42 in the question and answer. I don't think I need to say anything except correct.
There we are. Very nice, everybody. All right. So a quick agenda for today's webinar. We'll do, Garth is going to do a great introduction into what Endpoint Insights is. We've got a 3-pillar slide he'll talk through. Garth and Marty will do a demo of EI, and then we'll obviously do Q&A at the end. Like all of our other webinars, this is a very conversational style presentation. So if you have a question, please feel free to type it into the Q&A box, and we'll answer it as we go through there. All right, Garth, run through the 3 pillars of Endpoint Insights.
I actually thought Marty was doing this slide, so
yeah, you weren't on the call when we decided who was doing it, so it's all you, my friend.
okay. All right, well, see, this is what we practiced earlier today, but the short version is Endpoint Insights will tell you more about what's in your environment. So it will tell you everything from the warranty of your computers to SQL Server versions installed to network drives. All of this allows you to capture the data, and from this data allows you to make some intelligent decisions on it. So one of the intelligent decisions is how you can replace your computers. So that's one of the focuses on today's topic. Yeah, there you go. So I am going to talk about one of the questions that Daniel brought about missing the first couple of webinars. They are recorded, and Jeff will tell us later on how we can access those if you want to see one of the past webinars on there. And you can see the Marty and Garth show. Or is it the Garth and or Marty and Garth, or Garth and Marty, or is it the Jeff, Garth, and Marty show?
I'm no part of this. Anyways, yes, Daniel, I'll send the link out in the chat to the Recast webpage where you can visit and view all of our previous webinars as well.
Great.
All right, so what's the next slide?
I think the next slide is let's talk about device refreshes. So Marty, if you want to start sharing your screen, we can actually dive into this.
I thought there was still one more slide.
Is it a dad joke slide?
Yeah.
I mean, you can toss it out there now if you'd like.
All right, so we were supposed to have a video in here, but it's stuck in editing. And the slide said, insert video here, or 15 minutes of dad jokes. So since we don't have the video to describe, we thought we would do 15 minutes of dad jokes. Hey, Marty.
Hey, Garth.
My boss said that I'm acting like a flamingo. I had to put my foot down.
That makes sense. That makes sense. There it is.
There it is. I
There's
forgot
your
it.
slide.
We got the, oh, there's the whole thing.
Yeah, there's your slide. Good deal. Hey, Garth, you know, I used to really be addicted to doing the hokey pokey.
Really?
Yeah, but I turned myself around. That's what it's all about, my friend. All right, let's, okay, I will share my screen now and we can talk a little bit about, this will stop other people
Yeah,
from
please
sharing.
do.
Yes, it will. Good deal. All right, so I should be sharing some here, config manager console. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about device refreshes. And what we mean by device refreshes is when you replace someone's device in your environment. Now, both Garth and I know have had this experience in the past. Garth, tell me, how did your first experience replacing somebody's device go for you?
It was fantastic.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, you know how it goes. You take the computer, you build it on your desktop, you drop it on their desk, and you take the old one away. And of course, you know, that's it, right?
Sure. I distinctly remember doing that myself for my first device refresh. And they just said, hey, bring this out to, you know, whomever, and put it on their desk, plug it in, turn it on for them. If you need to help them log in, and they should be good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Funny thing though, Garth, when we got out there, the monitor cable didn't work.
What? Why not?
Well, it was lovely because the new device had a different connector on it than what had originally been, how it originally had been connected. And so right away I got to run back and fix that that oversight, if that makes sense. So I got to fix that. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
You know, I can top that. I mean,
Okay.
I had that exact same thing, but I actually had to drive half an hour away to replace an executive's computer. And you know, everybody says, oh yeah, they already got a monitor, they don't need anything else, they didn't want anything else. So we get out there and find out that not only did the monitor didn't work, but we actually had the wrong keyboard style. We had the old DIN style versus the the smaller DIN or whatever they're called. And that was great. And you know, I got that replaced until a couple of days later he's going, where's my software? And you're going, what are you talking about? We gave you everything you needed. Apparently, there was software on his computer that we just didn't know that we had. It was a lot of back and forth for a little while trying to get that done.
Yeah, absolutely. And even think about some of the other things. What are some of those other things that definitely have trouble remembering or you just didn't even know existed, right? Like printers, shares, things that people are connected to. Maybe even a user installed piece of software. You bring over the new computer and hey, where's my, I don't know, Kindle application, right? Because when the C-level exec says they want Kindle on their computer, they get Kindle on their computer. Absolutely, they do. So let's talk about a couple of ways that we can, how that Endpoint Insights can help with that. Does that sound good?
Sure. So why don't we talk about how once you got config-man, what's the first thing you do for that?
Sure, absolutely. So
So
what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and this is actually my device, so I know what's on here. But let's actually go ahead and we're going to take a little bit of a look at Resource Explorer.
correct. And what are we going to go look for on Resource Explorer?
Well, I know someplace I'm going to look first is I am definitely going to look at
Installed.
Yes, of course. There we go. Installed application.
Correct. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to quickly look at, we all do this for the CIOs. We go look to see what software is installed on there. And I mean, I can quickly see through this list that there's something called Stardock. Now, I have no idea what Stardock is, but I also can see that Stardock 3 and Stardock 4 on the same computer. So I'm probably going to figure out if I'm going to replace this for this very important person, which of these two pieces of software I'm going to install for them. I can also see things like Chrome is installed on this box.
Absolutely.
But,
And remember, we've also got, so this is the 32-bit ones. We've also got installed application 64.
correct.
So we can see some other things that are listed here. For example, we've got some additional stuff.
And I can also see that it was this SQL Server Management Studio is installed on here somewhere. Yeah, there it is on this computer. So, you know, if I was going to replace this computer right now, I would make sure that they get those pieces of software on there, and effectively I'd be done. You know, I would make sure that everything was out there, and I take that out to their computers and give them that white glove experience, you know, so that there was nothing on here that was missing. They should have everything they have.
But I feel like we're missing a couple of things that we talked about earlier.
What things would that be?
Well, for sure, we talked about something like how monitors are connected and user programs and shares. Oh my gosh, we talked about a couple of different things here. And I don't see them normally inside Config Manager.
That's also correct. So one of the things that with Endpoint Insights, we extend the inventory to collect a number of different attributes. And if you remember, we both had the problem with monitors and going from like a display port or oh, we're getting the poll up about the white glove experience.
Yeah, I thought it was a great segue. I just had to launch it.
All right. So we'll give everybody a chance to vote on the poll. Apparently, as a panelist, I am not allowed to vote. If I would have voted.
Well, we already talked about it. We did have to deal with this kind of scenario for sure.
So Jeff, I assume you can see the results on here?
I can. It looks like 70% of the respondents say yes, they do have to do essentially white glove deployment for new devices. 16% say they try to avoid it. And then 13%, give or take, say yes, but only for VIPs.
Yeah, I always love who falls in that VIP scenario because it tends to be a very long list. So why don't you close off that poll? So coming back to our things, if we were actually trying to do a real white glove experience, and I was going back to our scenario about going to a drop off a computer that's not in the office or for a remote worker, let's take a look at something like the monitors on here. Now,
whoops, let me get that back.
Okay, so we wanted to know about how the monitor is connected to the computer. And in this particular case, if we go all the way to the right where it says video output, we can see that it says a virtual monitor. So in this particular case, it is a virtual monitor, but if this was set up as HDMI or DVI or display port, it would list off how the monitor is connected. And therefore, we could see that if I'm going out there, what is the monitor got right now? I can at least connect to it that way. And if I didn't have that type of connector, I can say, I'm bringing it with me, or bring a whole new monitor because I know it works on that scenario. So again, this saves you all the time and effort because each time you go out and visit a user, it's going to cost you time, which costs money. It interrupts the user on the other end. It's a bad experience. So the other thing that we were talking about was user installed software. Now, Marty gave away a little bit of the secret on there, but if you click on user installed software, this is all software that they don't need UAC permissions to install. So things like Kindle Reader, OneDrive, Visual Studio Code user, which I didn't know you can install as a user, but apparently you can. So if I'm trying to do a white glove experience, I may or may not install something like Kindle for the user, but at least I would tell them saying, hey, I didn't install Kindle Reader for you, and this is how you do it. Or I go, Vivaldi, I don't know what that is. What is that, Marty?
That's actually it's a web browser that supposedly has a little bit better not security, but user tracking situation than compared to like Chrome. Does a little bit less tracking. So yeah, you might find a product that you didn't even know existed out in your environment as well. The other thing I noticed here is actually we've got, if you notice, there are two OneDrive installs. So we've got this OneDrive install right here and this OneDrive install right here. That's interesting.
And why is that, Marty?
Oh, I see it. So actually, if you look here, it looks as though, so Marty M is the one who's been, who has all of these installed. And actually there was a different user who installed this one here. So that's another thing. Fabian, who installed this, is actually one of our IT admins. So it totally makes sense that he had logged in and then OneDrive started up and tried installing itself and whatever. But that might be something that I don't need to reinstall for him when I set this computer up, if I'm setting it up for Marty M. I could potentially see that, hey, there's stuff here that I don't even need to worry about. But at least we know, what was there and what has happened as well.
So before you move on, Marty, I'd like you to, can you sort them by display name for me?
Sure.
So the one thing I want you to notice is the version of OneDrive that Fabian has and the version that you have. They're two different versions of the same software. So from a security standpoint, I probably don't want that older version out there. And this is something we weren't trying to talk about it today, but this is how the Endpoint Insights shows you old software that's out there and the security risks that are associated with it. But coming back to our white glove experience on the whole scenario, how do we deal with network drives, Marty?
Sure. So network drives, we can actually see those here as well. And if you look again, you can see that because multiple people have logged in and we're using the way we're mapping these drives so that we can show them as a login script. It's essentially done it twice, so we can actually see, but we can see which drives we're connected to and where we're actually, what actually is going on here.
So Marty, I thought when we were practicing, you had a Z drive in here.
Z,
yeah.
yes. For those of us south of the border there, I did have a Z drive, as a matter of fact.
ZFOD, ZFOD, that's a good reference.
Whatever.
Why don't we get back to that one on the whole thing? Let's talk about. I know that you had that Z drive, and we'll, it's not there now, but how do you? We'll talk about how you can find it later on. But printers, as an example, I don't know about you, but when I get to my computer and I can't print, it's annoying. I get frustrated and that sort of stuff. So with that, can we see what printers are mapped for so we have a printer on your DP, so we can now map that printer to make sure that when we're doing the white glove experience, that they have the exact same printer mapped again for them.
Absolutely.
And therefore make their experience a lot nicer, and therefore they love and love you on. I mean, I don't know about you, Marty. When when I did computer replacements, or like when I replace my own personal computer, I literally take the computer I'm replacing it with and put it aside and literally have 2 computers here for months on end, just in case I forgot something. So the more I can do things like this and making sure I got everything there, it builds up trust between you and your end clients, and ultimately makes it so that when you go to replace that computer for them, they're going, yeah, I know everything's there for me.
Absolutely. That was probably one of the biggest things, is we would have where then after, so where it would took 3 or 4 times to make sure that they got their computer replaced with everything they needed correctly, I'm going to say. Then the next time we did somebody in their department, oh my gosh, that was always so much fun, because they'd be like, yeah, no, here's your new computer. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'd really rather not. I saw what you did to my cubicle neighbor, or I saw what you did, heard what you did to somebody on my team. I don't want to do it right now. Or the same thing, they won't let you take that other computer back that you need to either get, that you need to get removed out of the environment. And they're like, nope, I'm going to keep holding on to this, and good luck. You will pry it from my, my cold dead hands, that kind of a thing. So,
well, in a leasing experience, you got to return the computer, otherwise you're fine throughout the whole scenario.
Yep.
And I mean, it comes down to, I don't know, what I used to work for the Canadian government. And what we'd find is people would do reports once a month, once a quarter, whatever it was. And they would have software or connection that they needed. And they would only use it for a day or two every month or two. And, it could be everything from a SQL connection, a database, you name it, throughout the whole scenario. And they would not give up their computer for their life. And this is, again, some of the reasons why Endpoint Insights came into place. So we could do things like see what user applications there are, or is SQL Server installed on a computer like that, and what databases they might have. Oh my God, this thing's got 2 SQL servers instances on it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of the idea, right? So that we can make sure to see exactly what has been installed. Things that we're not necessarily looking at otherwise, like even ODBC drivers. Are there database connections that people are making that they need to have the drivers installed for, that simply aren't there? Okay, so tell me a little bit how we go ahead.
What about ODBC users? Because clearly there's something there.
Oh, yep, let's take a look.
So you have something going off to an access database that looks like a DBase file out there. I mean, these are not what you would consider in a normal, like a lot of workers would not have a database connection, but a statistician would be, or a scientist would be, or something like that. They can have data like this. So
yep, absolutely. So what I was going to say was, so now what I know, and you notice that one of my shares isn't actually showing up under map drives anymore, because I did have, in fact, have a Z drive that is no longer showing up.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the questions and the chat, and everybody's being really quiet out here today. I mean, hello, is anybody out there?
Yeah, if you do have any questions, feel free to hop in for sure and post a question, but we can we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about my map drive. Garth, where's my map drive?
So you had that map drive for the Z drive or Zaphod drive, and the way that this happens after the fact, somebody gets a new computer. How do you find out what they had in the past? So because we are using Configuration Manager and we're using hardware inventory, we get all the history that's associated with it. So if you go down to hardware history, and then you go to the map drives, And then you can see all of the available drives. So if you hit on current, this is going to show you what you have today.
Yep.
And that's great. But when did you have when did we demo or test this thing out?
Yeah, well, I distinctly remember testing it on the 10th, actually, at approximately 8:51 or so, I think was when we were looking at that.
Yes.
Oh, hey, check it out.
Look at that. We have a Z drive going off to this really intense share over here that we were doing stuff on that, now we're making a joke here about the share and all this, but at the same point in time, this is quite valid. How often do you go off to somebody and they have a drive and you have no idea where it goes to or where it came from, and it's days or weeks after the fact? This is one of the ways that you can go off and locate what it was. Personally, from my side, I do it as a SQL query, but this works just as well.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times it's happened to you all, but we would have times on help desk too where somebody would be like, my drive that I used to connect to is missing. And it's not listed in there at all. And being able to go back and find out what they were actually connected to would have been amazing, because rather than having to trying to get answers out of people where you're like, okay, well, what was on the drive? What were you doing with the stuff that was on the drive? You can actually go back in time and take a look and be like, hey, look at that. Looks like you were connected. In this instance, we just did a quick share to the domain controller, to that netlogon folder, just to see, just to show this, but you could actually see where in fact they were connected and what they were connected to.
And you can see who connected to it. So our white glove user of this Marty M, we're trying to make sure that they're
VIP, I think, actually.
Sorry?
VIP, I think.
VIP,
actually.
yes, he's the VIP. We wanted to make sure that he was taken care of throughout the whole scenario. So we actually have two questions in here, Marty.
Yeah.
The first question is, can we get a report of all user map drives? And the answer to that is yes, we can. So in our, I forget if it was our previous map drive, but our previous demo, we did show that. So you can see that under endpoints, I believe it is. And then computer, is it computer? I always forget where these things sit. No, but, oh, it's under user. My mistake. It's under user. Of course, user, ha, 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 map.
There you go.
So we can get a list of all of the map drives. One of the things that you can also see then who's connected to what shares, that sort of fun stuff throughout this scenario. So yeah, one of the things that we suggest when you're using this thing from a server and shares and connections is if you're going to shut down a server, you can see who's connected off to it. You can then do something about it, meaning get them off that server or share, and then, that sort of thing. I was thinking the very last one, actually.
Okay.
So in here, pick a server or a collection first, sorry.
Actually, let's
pick the one with your computer.
Yep, absolutely. There we go.
Okay, and then for the shares, yeah, okay, that will work. Take the domain controller.
Sure.
Demo DC or something like that, wasn't it called that?
It was. It must not be part of that collection.
Oh, okay. Well, that would also go all systems then.
Okay.
Let's do it. Let's hit it with a hammer. I always love doing demos live like this.
On the fly.
Practice like that. Or, yeah, just say all. Just
Okay, you got it.
All. And let's go all again. Or you can go down to the net, yeah, and then just say view report. So this is just going to show you everything for every user, all of this environment, which of course we've done as a really large query on the whole thing. But there you go. You can see everybody who's mapped to anything, so in the whole environment.
Only 799 pages.
Yeah, yeah, you can kill a few trees with that.
Yeah.
So our second question goes, is there a way to mark certain software as approved? So when leasing refresh happens, you know what to apply as approved and what to leave off. So there's nothing directly related within Endpoint Insights for that. At best, what I recommend for that is for you to create a package in a program or package in applications that list off the latest and greatest, but there's nothing specifically to say take things off. What allows you to do is to see what's there. We have a question in the chat as well. So the user map drive shows network connectivity, but nowhere is it mapped to. I'm not sure I understand that, Brian, but there you go. So it looks like extending them off to include additional data. How does the data get imported impact the bloat of the CM database? So Christopher's asking about, do we edit them off? Yes, we are extending the old SMS def off, aka the client settings in current branch. And how does that affect the bloat on the database? The way we've written the WMI providers, we've deliberately set them up to reduce the amount of history that's set up on them. So you shouldn't see a lot of bloat from the history side of the whole scenario. As for how much extra data it is, there's no way to answer that definitively, but what I say is about 1 to 2 meg per client on the sign, and that's collecting all the user data, whether it's map drives, map printers, user installed software, the monitors, SQL instances, ODBC, warranty, you name it, throughout the whole scenario. That's roughly what I say is 1 to 2 meg throughout the whole thing.
Yep, and it looks like Brian had a follow-up. Demo example at first didn't show the network path, but a later example showed the network path location. Yes, you're right. It should actually show that network path location, essentially. The reason it's not showing, didn't show that other one, it's actually showing as a disconnected drive. So it's not technically connected, is why it didn't have a path to put in there as well.
Yeah, but there are, anyways, there's a lot of details in there, and we have, because everything is available in Resource Explorer, we have a number of built-in dashboards and reports. And the first thing I'm going to suggest is go look at what we have. And the second thing is if it doesn't meet your needs, I'm going to suggest you go off to the ideas page and suggest it. But because everything exists in the configuration manager database, there's nothing stopping you from creating your own reports, whether it is another SSRS, Power BI, you know, Tableau, whatever. You can go off and generate reports on it. What you end up finding out is that we constantly add stuff to Endpoint Insights based on your feedback. So, you know, ODBC as a prime example was something that we added based on feedback for people who were literally trying to replace computers within their environment. And what we found is all the existing examples will do ODBC for the computer, but not for the user. Or they do it for the drivers, but drivers for the computer, not for the drivers for the user and the computer. So we extended our solution to do both the user and the computer scenario. So there you go. Can I share any documentation regarding the user inventory? Sure. If there's something specific you want, our support team definitely has some documentation on it. They'll point you off to the knowledge base site on that. If there was something specific that you wanted, you know, if they'll contact myself or Marty or even Jeff, who will be more than happy to get you those technical details. You know, let us know exactly what you want and we'll see that you get it. Right, Jeff?
We are looking into it now.
They're looking into it now. Before this whole webinar started, we actually decided that our support team, specifically Chelsea, was going to curate dad jokes and send out a mailing list that you could go off to. And what we were encouraging everybody to do was to send your best dad jokes to Chelsea. And then once a week, she'll send those out to everybody on the mailing list. Right, Jeff? Wasn't that the promise?
That was an idea that was thrown around. I think promise is a strong word to use. I'm going to divert this. Looks like we have another question in the Q&A section.
Can you pull in user references and customizations? Matt, that's a great. So I forget if everybody can see the questions before we answer them, but the question basically is, can we pull in preferences and customizations to start menus and shortcuts? The answer is currently no. I strongly recommend that you put that on the ideas portal because you never know. And for everybody who wants it, what I would suggest is vote it up. When we go off and do our reviews of stuff on the ideas portal, the more votes, the more support from our clients and community that we get, the more likely we are able to do that. Sometimes we're going to ask, like, what's the business use for this? And from that, the more details you give us, the more that we can, I can use and others can use to support, we need to do this. So the more you can help us that way, the better off it is.
Very good.
What is interesting in the ability to easily compare two different systems? So Christopher is asking, it would be interesting to see the ability to compare two different systems. Now, when you're talking about that, are you actually talking about software, or are you talking about the whole thing as in map drives, networks, and all the rest of that? Because from a software perspective, there is a report under software, and it's going to be under software inventory. And I haven't run this one in a while, but it's going to be called comparison. Yeah, I think that's the one. It's going to ask for two computer names, and it will tell you the differences between one computer and the next computer on there.
I got ahead of myself.
Not ahead of yourself.
Okay, well, what I want is I want to do it against that one.
All right. Again, I love these demos live. So we can see the stuff that's missing between that. Hopefully that's what you're looking for. If that's not specifically what you're looking for, you know, again, I encourage you to put it into the ideas portal. But because everything is in the configuration manager database, we can help you show you how you can do that yourself if that's . So we got a question about, can you see if they're connected to a USB printer? Well, because we're seeing all the printers that they're seeing, it will tell us their connection. I don't know in our demo environment if we have any USB printers specifically, but I do know that pick any random EI computer and let's see what we got. No.
Oops, sorry.
Resource Explorer. I know you're so used to going to the Recast.
I always go to right-click tools.
And go pick printers. Not printers down the way. Let's see what we've got on here. Okay, so this has got to be, I think, probably my old computer, and you can see that it's connected via IPv6 and IPv4 to two different printer things in there. So it will tell you how it's connected, but it won't tell you. So I don't have any USBs in here is the short answer about that thing. Oh, so we've answered that question.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions that have come through so far.
So I'm looking over my quick notes, Marty. Did we miss anything that we wanted to cover?
I think the only other thing we were also going to take a look at is the all-in-one computer report.
Yes. Although I just saw something I wanted you to show about the printers, but nonetheless.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Where would you like to go next?
Let's do the all-in-one.
Okay.
So endpoint, all-in-one computer view. So
I'm going to do this.
So one of the things that we've done, apparently Suzanne was the last one logged on this machine. So what we've got in here is one report that basically is one report to rule them all. And we'll tell you about just about everything you need to know about the computer on here. And this is a great way to get a good idea about what's on the computer, what's made it up, what's its warranty, the whole 9 yards on it. So Kyle has posted in the chat a point off to the knowledge base and some general details about the information that's being collected from WMI. And if you go back to the Resource Explorer there for a second there, and go to the map printers and scroll all the way to the right when you get to the bottom. Keep going. So you see where it says port name, which you scroll just a hair bit too much to the right, but port name will show you how it's connected. So if it was a USB or like exactly how it's connected in there through the whole thing. So I just wanted to point that out about the whole things.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any questions about white glove scenarios? While I'm waiting to see, Jeff, can you throw up the first poll, the very, very first poll?
Was that the white glove or the dad?
The dad.
Okay, not to give it away.
Not to give it away.
Oh, I can't vote.
I can't vote either.
That always tricks me up.
Well, I guess this is good news for the rest of the Endpoint Insight webinar series. The overwhelming majority would like to hear more dad jokes.
So would Garth. So that puts it right up there.
So now we got to resurrect that Slack channel and see,
So
We'll have to get, okay, so remember, send your best dad jokes to Chelsea and we could feature them here on the next webinar, which is next month sometime. And who knows? I'll say this, and I promise you nothing yet, but maybe the best dad joke can win a prize. Just saying. I'll have to work on people to see if I can make that happen. So
now, from a marketing standpoint, I will approve that dad joke request, definitely.
Okay. Best dad joke sent to Chelsea will get a prize. So there you go. So Jeff, we had 4 polls. What's poll number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Poll number 3.
Poll number 3. All right.
Poll number 3. Poll number 3 is, we'd love to know how many of you guys are going to Workplace Ninja in September. So Workplace Ninja is a configuration manager, Intune, MEM, Azure event in Switzerland throughout this whole thing. And we love to know how many people are going.
So it looks like the majority are not. Some are curious to know, what you just answered, what Workplace Ninja is, but we do have a handful, looks like 5 or 6 or so that will be attending.
Awesome.
So I have been accepted as a speaker at Workplace Ninja, and I hope to see you guys there. Feel free to pester myself or my colleague Chris.
Probably coming would have gone off. Very good point, Paul. If you guys are fine with that, I'm going to take back screen sharing and show the next webinars that we have coming up.
Sure.
That's good.
Let's share this guy here. All right, as Garth kind of alluded to, we do have a few more webinars in the hopper, basically 1 a month for the next 3 months. So July 12th, 17th, 13th. The next one is right-click tools and Endpoint Insights, the Better Together story. And then Beyond Reporting. And then I think the final one is probably going to be the best one. This is Marty and Garth's hidden gems, their favorite features within Endpoint Insights that probably don't get the most attention that they deserve, but stay tuned for that one. And as we talked about earlier, there will be dad jokes sprinkled in all of these webinars throughout.
I really don't know how we made it here. I really don't know how we made it here, guys, to the dad jokes, but here we are.
We did it. Let's go to the next slide. Whoops, sorry. As always, if you have, want more information, please visit recastsoftware.com. I'm going to launch one more poll if you would like pricing. And then also for the 4 webinar winners, the 2 came from the initial questions that we asked. So that would be Tony and Matt. Congratulations. And then the other 2 randomly selected throughout the webinar. That would be Jesse L and Vasanta T. So congratulations. I'll send those links out to you later today or tomorrow. So just check your inbox. Also check your spam folder. Sometimes they end up there, sadly.
Yeah, and just while we're here, I'd be remiss in saying that just so that everybody's aware that Endpoint Insights, we've mentioned it before, and Endpoint Insights is a separate product from our other products, so it can be licensed separately. It can be licensed by itself if you don't have the ability to get right-click tools, but this would be super helpful for you. It can be purchased on its own, so you don't need to have right-click tools. It also, we're going to talk next time about how they work well together, but it's not required, absolutely.
And we have the for those that are going to Workplace Ninja, the last presentation is supposed to be September 13th, which is while I'm at Workplace Ninja. So I'm still working out the logistics of this thing, but I may be trying to do it live from Workplace Ninja.
Nice.
Switzerland. So
that's awesome.
Because according to my time zone thing, it should only be 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So I'm not saying, but I may be having libations at that same time. Just saying.
I would also like to point out the in the chat the dad joke. I had a dream I was a muffler. I woke up exhausted.
Oh,
That's
where's
good. I like it.
hang on a second.
All right.
Are you think they're going to let us do any more webinars after this?
Maybe that's what they need to tune in to find out. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you, everyone. Just like always, we'll send the recording out to this, or we'll send the recording out via email to this recording. Yeah, thank you all for joining. Garth, Marty, fabulous job as always. And we'll see everyone same place next month.
See you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.